The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Welcome, aliens and extraterrestrials. Today we will be reviewing Dave Smith on the Joe Rogan Experience. And does he have some hot takes? I mean, everything from vaccines to government to conspiracies. He hits it all. And he's going to get some backlash for this, but these are some good clips. Stick around for the rating. Bye, guys.
Yeah, it's just, have you read The Real Anthony Fauci, his book?
No, I haven't. I've heard him talk about it in several different interviews. Yeah.
If he hasn't been sued yet, and he hasn't been sued yet for it, like, does that mean it's true? I mean, he's got so many references in that book. If you read that book, just when they talk about what they did during the AIDS pandemic, holy shit, man.
Fauci's a very bad guy.
What they did, I mean, in the book, I mean, I don't want to paraphrase. I want to make sure I'm accurate about this, but they tested vaccines on foster kids, including babies. Like, when you read what they did during the pandemic, and it's spooky fucking shit. Also, like, the application of AZT as a treatment. Yeah. That AZT was a chemotherapy medication that was killing people quicker than cancer. It's scary stuff, man. When he talks about Arthur Ashe, and Arthur Ashe taking AZT and dying very quickly afterwards, and that Arthur Ashe didn't even like have any symptoms before he got on medication.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that people, a lot of people have woken up to this over the last few years with all of the COVID insanity. And I think a lot of people have woken up to this over, say, the last 20 years of all the disastrous wars in the Middle East, is that it's very easy for them to just be like, oh, look, we have consensus amongst the expert class. You know, like, we have consensus amongst the scientists that we need lockdowns, and then we need these vaccine mandates, and we need all of this. And this is the science. The scientists agree. Right. But then once you actually, like, look into it a little bit, you realize that it's like, no, it's not that there's consensus amongst the scientists. It's that any scientist that doesn't agree with the consensus gets kicked out. Like, they all get excommunicated and silenced. And then, it's this completely corrupt group that is very involved with this money-making machine. And you're like, there's such perverse incentives here. And so it's like, and the people realize this when, after time, it just gets demonstrated that what they were saying is wrong.
Yes.
Like, no one can argue anymore that if you get the COVID vaccine, you can't get or transmit COVID. No one's arguing that anymore, because it's just, you can't keep up that lie anymore.
And that was so quick.
Yeah.
It was so quick. I mean, that lie was being pushed on mainstream news just a couple of years ago.
Well, dude, me and you were like talking about this stuff. It's like, it seems like not really that long ago, right? That we were having like some conversations where there'd be these clips of what we were saying, and it would be like, look at this COVID misinformation. Yeah. And now you're like, let's look back at that. Yeah. The World Health Organization is now saying that the vaccine shouldn't be given to kids. And the thing you said that was so controversial that Fauci had to comment on it was, you were like, for young people, I don't know if I'd really tell you to take this vaccine. Just be really healthy. Say, like, eat really well, exercise, get a lot of sunlight. That was your dangerous misinformation that you were spreading. Like,
wild.
Let's put that up against. And at the same time, Fauci was saying, if you get the vaccine, you're not going to get COVID. You can't transmit it. You're like, so who is spreading misinformation?
Not only that, they knew it was misinformation because they had never tested it for transmission.
Yes, they knew it. The woman, I'm blanking on her name, but she was on the task force, the original task force in 2020. She's the lady who's always there at the podium with Trump and Fauci.
Birx.
Yes. She said, in like a kind of diplomatic way, but she was like, she goes, I always knew that it wouldn't prevent transmission, and I felt that we overreached when we were making that claim. And you're like, overreached? Lady, all of the policies that you put into place were built around that idea. The whole idea of vaccine mandates and vaccine passports and all of this was all predicated on the idea that it wasn't just your choice. Like, it wasn't just like, you're choosing for your own health risk, that you were protecting other people. That was the whole idea that the whole thing was based on. If that's not true, then there was no justification for this. And millions of people lost their jobs over this. Yeah. Not to mention just the amount of people who were just like disenfranchised, like in major cities across the country. You couldn't go to a restaurant or couldn't go to a basketball game or whatever, which may seem less important than the ones who lost their job, but it's still fucked up.
It's all
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast.